Hello everybody, my name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I'm an author, robot, and loin streamer, and today I wanted to talk about a very pressing issue, and that is paying authors. Do they even deserve it? Like, are they even to be considered human, let alone working humans, let alone humans at all? But before we get started, number one, if you enjoy what I do on this channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Number two, if you would like to be featured on this channel, check out the links down in the description below for Lamoy and Fresh Meat feature. Number three, if you would like to check out any of my works and maybe treat me as slightly human, all of them are available at your favorite bookstores. Sorry that there is no Fresh Meat feature today, but some things came up at the house, so I wasn't able to record that. And instead, we're going to talk about this issue because it has come up a number of times this last week. I think it has been going on for a while now, but it seems like perfect timing to do it anyway. So, in case you're wondering, here's the introduction to it. Readers aren't responsible for covering an author's publishing costs. It's totally unfair to try and guilt-trip readers into financing your expenses with the authors need to eat too line. We all need to eat. So, I don't know, who all is aware of this. I feel like if you don't walk around certain parts of the internet, you may not. But apparently, there's a trend going around on TikTok where people are purchasing books from Amazon, reading the whole books, and then returning them for a refund to then go on to the next one, basically using Amazon as a library. And this is harming specifically indie authors, because a lot of indie authors are also being required to pay for those returns. Not only is the money being taken away, but it's actually going in the negative for returns. And then you have this battle going between readers and authors, where authors are asking, please pay us for our labor, and then the readers doing this are like, no, fuck you, why do we need to pay you for your labor? We should get to take whatever we want. Here we go with just this right here where, the author is saying, please cover my publishing costs. I think more generally it's like, can you please pay authors for their work? But we'll get into some of the different discussion points that I have seen. At least I have 3 different threads, and then I will look forward to your guys' comments down below, whether you're an author or a reader. Wherever it is, I will obviously state where my conflict of interest is, where as an author, I would prefer to be able to be paid so that I can, one, receive a benefit from the work that I have created, and number 2, with enough success or income, I would like to be able to pass on some of that income to other artists who also need to eat, because all I want to do right now is hire a bunch of different artists, from physical and visible artistry to voiceovers and voice actor work for audiobooks. But I can't do that without getting paid, as well as eating. So that's where my conflict of interest is. With that said, let's go ahead and get into some of these threads. And like I said, I will look forward to your guys' discussions on how you feel about this down below. We're going to have a few different points of view, maybe at least a few different voices in this from the Twitter thread. So we've got from Quinby. So here's the thing about the haha, I'll just buy and return a ebook because I'm a dick trend going around. Yes, we pay for it. We, the authors. Last month, someone in France bought a copy of Miss Percy and returned it. I'm not going to wonder why it was returned. That's not the point of this post. But it was the only book that I sold in France that month, and suddenly my royalties from Amazon for my amazing sales in France were negative 2.91 euros. That's a minus sign there, used when things go into the negative. So someone picking up a book and returning it cost me almost 3 euros. It's not an even thing, where if you buy, read, and return it, it just sits at 0, which is still a jerk move. But anyway, regardless of anyone's belief on whether books should be free, and pirating sites are totally cool because your book should be available to everyone at all times because you're an artist, blah, 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 tell that to my kids who can hoover up 3 pizzas in one sitting. Anyway, every return is picking the author's pocket. You are taking not only our books, but also the price of it. Now, I know that my saying this is not going to move any needles. If you're the sort of person who will buy and return a book, you're going to do it regardless of morals or ethics or my hungry growing children because you're an asshat. And don't give me that, but the book wasn't good, so I returned it nonsense. I didn't get my money back after watching Indiana Jones 4, so you can deal with anything in my books that might not have lived up to your precious standards. But books should be free. There are free books. Read those. At this moment, not all of mine are free. The royalties from them are paying my bills, and I have bills because, surprise, not everything is free, including my books. Now, excuse me while I throw some food at my locusts. I mean, children. I don't really think it's a great play. Like, this isn't what the video is about. The video is about stealing from people, but I really don't think it's a great play to call your children the plague. I think that's a bad look, but moving on. One more thing, a basic breakdown of the math of these who are going to be exuberantly obtuse. Reader pays Amazon money. Reader reads book. Reader returns book. Amazon keeps the money and takes the money to pay. Amazon keeps money and makes author pay it back instead. That's the issue here, folks. So what you've got going on is that Amazon is once again stealing from authors. I did a video on this back like a year or two ago when this issue was happening with Audible, where people were returning Audible books that they'd listened to the whole way through. They'd have up to a year of returning the book back. Even after listening to it, they would get to use that credit that was returned on anything that they wanted, and Amazon would keep the credit money. The author would then suffer. So Amazon was again profiting off authors, especially indie authors, who had no recourse. And so that sort of changed the procedure of what was going on with Audible to where it was now a 30-day thing. But you've still got Amazon that is profitizing off of the little guys. And also, for the people that are saying that this should be free, it's very interesting that you would say this, because I think, no, this is just my assumption, but it feels like this might be on the side that believes more things should be free, and the hatred of corporations who steal from the little guy, who pick the little guy and abuse the little guy, and here you are feeding the machine that is going to pick on the little guy, the entrepreneur, the indie author, who is not trying to go through the big gate, but rather to be self-sufficient. And instead, you're pulling away from that little guy while feeding the money to the big corporation. That is something to consider when you're doing this. But in this situation, if you go and see a movie in theaters and you end up not liking that movie, or you end up walking out of that movie, you don't get a return. So saying, well, I didn't enjoy this, isn't really an argument for why you should get a return once you've consumed a book. And personally, again, I already stated where my conflict of interest is. Personally, I don't think it's a fair argument to make that you only pay the money after you only need to remain paying the money after you've consumed the item if you've enjoyed the book. Again, stealing. Going over here to Chris Thomas, she says, I don't usually join in on this, but being anti-piracy of books is not about being anti-poor people. For authors that are exclusive with Amazon, their books getting pirated and put on another site means Amazon can and has and will take their books down due to violation. This is another thing, because when you're an Amazon exclusive, they are very peculiar about your work being found anywhere else online. And so somebody else pirating your books off of their site and then posting them on another site can actually hurt the author specifically, in that Amazon sees that book that is supposed to be exclusively on them on other websites, and it's an algorithm, and it will automatically start striking down the author's books because they're seeing a breach of contract, even if the author didn't do it themselves. So let's go on with Chris's discussion here. This means that you might get access to a book. All of the people who want it and can afford it and can afford to pay the author for their work won't. And you are expecting the author to work for free for you because you want it. The belief that books are owed to you simply because you want them is in itself assuming privilege. You are expecting something for free and giving nothing in return. And you want free books? Library. Reach out to authors. Find one of the millions of free books out there, which there is an entire section on Amazon that is free books. Often there's the first book in a series is free, and then many after that first book in the series, they'll be at a discount because that author does want to get exposure for their whole series. You'll also see that they often go on sale when that first book is perma-free. With my specific books, if you don't want to purchase any of my books, all you have to do is go to your local libraries and request that my books be in your library, which I would much appreciate it if you did that. It would mean so much to me if you would request my books at your library. But you can go to the library and actually request most of the books that you want. Now, some indie books you may not be able to get in the libraries because of the distribution. It depends on how that indie author has published and if their books actually have the reviews that allow them to be picked up, and if they're in the catalog. But many indie books you can actually get in the library if you don't want to purchase them. And that will also have more play for the author, because then once those books are in your library, other people will also be exposed to them. And that also helps out the author without costing you out of pocket. So continuing with Chris, saying that you can't have a book because you can't afford it when you still have access to millions of equal books free of charge is not the same thing as saying that you can't have something at all because you can't afford it. You are harming the very people giving you content. In before anyone decides to at me over what a big, bad, selfish author I am, my books cost less than $3. I am posting them on Tapas for free. I give out free short stories to people signed up on my website. I have given out dozens of copies of my book. You are stealing if you pirate. The end. That's also a thing. Like, I can't speak for other people, obviously, but me as an author, I give out so many free copies of my book, literally just for exposure. But it's also why I try to keep the ebook copies at a cheaper price, because if people enjoy what I do, then I hope that they're going to maybe get the paperback. But I always want to make my stuff accessible. And so if you want a review copy, I've sent that. I've also sent a number of paperback copies as giveaways. I've had other people contact and say, hey, I would review your book if you would give me a paperback. And so then I've mailed out paperback copies of my books too. A lot of authors are willing to give out free copies, especially if you'll say, hey, I'll review, or hey, I'll talk about it, because that's really, we're trying to get exposure. We're trying to get people to find our stuff. But even then, it's not selfish to say, hey, can I be paid for the work that I have put into this? These books can take years, months, if not years, often, sometimes even decades to put together. And you wouldn't ask somebody to give you a chair that they've carpentered for free. You wouldn't ask somebody, well, you would, but you wouldn't expect it. You wouldn't expect somebody to give you a house for free. You wouldn't expect somebody to do labor, most sorts of labor for free, unless they said they were volunteering. So why is there this demand on artists? And it's not just on writers that this has happened, because I've got friends who are visual artists of different sorts, and they will constantly have people approach them and feel like they are owed the drawing talent of these artists to be either free or discounted, and you should just do it because you love it, not because you expect to get paid. Look, we can love it, but we would also possibly love to not be splitting our time so much between so many different things that we don't have time for, like family, or we don't have time for love, or we don't have time for continuing or working harder on our books because we have a day job that we have to do, because we have all of this other stuff that we can't expand or build in our artistry to give you more and better content and faster turnarounds, because we have to split our attention in all these different places. The next one that I wanted to bring up is Stitch here with saying book returning discourse is really wild to me because a preview does not exist and so do reviews, so you can be prepared, and B, it's basically a bunch of extremely online people using social justice and therapy language to excuse fucking with authors' livelihoods as a hack. They don't do this with print books they get on Amazon or at bookstores, but they'll do it to Kindle books, and when authors go, hey, I'm actually getting robbed here, these people act like they're Robin Hood for using Kindle book returns in a way that they weren't intended. See the quoted tweets for some examples of the way social justice, framing this as anti-capitalism and therapy, forcing me to do blank is manipulative, language used to justify actually stealing from authors and why they are doing this. So we're going to come up in here with Indie Book Spotlight. If every single author is asking you to please listen to them, maybe don't do this. Maybe you realize that your stance is perpetuating a trend that has real impacts for real, often struggling writers. If you finish a book, you are not owed a refund. It's really that simple. So looking at some of these responses in here, because you don't always know if you're going to like the book before you read it. You can read the fucking preview. It's there for the exact purpose. Okay, still doesn't mean an author is owed anything. You can change your mind about the book at the end. Look, I buy so many books that I end up not liking. Freaking even my video coming this Thursday, which is a book review by of Luck by Chris Koppel. Such a bad, poorly written book. Freaking political hate fiction. Still paid for that book. Didn't ask for a return because that's just how it is. Freaking his name was Augustine. His name was Augustin. I paid for all six. I paid for half of those books. The first three were arcs. No, I paid for most of those books. 2 of those were arcs. But the other 4 were not arcs. Yeah, not happening that often enough to be a problem, and you can't physically give a drink back. You can give a book back. It's happening enough that it is actually hurting authors, and this is just how you hurt individuals, independent people who are trying to make their own way, because this kind of stuff doesn't affect the bigger publishers in the same way, though they do make losses. But you're not hurting companies when you're returning indie books, but you bought it in the first place. The majority aren't returning books to be spiteful. They're returning it because being forced to keep a book you don't like is really fucking manipulative. No, it's not. You can delete it from your library, but you read it. You can leave a bad review and then you can move on. It's not manipulative to say don't return it because you have consumed it. Again, this other person was like, you consumed a drink, well, you can't return a drink. No, you can't. And you shouldn't expect to consume other people's content. And again, return it to get money back if you've paid money for it. This entitlement, a feeling like you just deserve everything you want for free, and to not give people any sort of resource for the amount of work. And I feel like this is something that gets lost in the discourse about money, is that money is a stand-in for trading labor, because we're no longer bartering. So like, I'm not giving you a book for you to give me a fish, since we don't have to do that. I'm working this job over here to make money, to give you money so that you can use basically my labor to buy somebody else's labor for something that you actually want. So the same thing is happening here. When you're purchasing a book with your money, you're paying somebody for the labor that they put into the thing that you are about to enjoy for 8 to 20 hours, or maybe 4 hours. I don't know. It depends on how long the book is. And so if you were actually bartering and giving somebody a fish for that book, well, you wouldn't get the fish back. So why is it now okay? Why do so many people wonder? Well, it's so stupid. So me asking why do people even think this okay is even more dumb. Because it's really just a sense of entitlement and a sense of people thinking that you owe them your labor if they want it. You owe them your resources if they want it. And so they don't have to put out. Here we go. Amazon don't actually charge for returns. That's misinformation that is being spread. They only take royalties. That's obviously not true. In some cases that we've seen, we've also seen if you're on the back end, it depends on the type of deal that authors have set up. With authors that do enable returns, it does come out of the author's wallet. Since I'm not Amazon exclusive, I'm not entirely sure how it works from that side. However, if I enabled returns from my distributor, any of those returns would come straight out of my wallet, and then if it was a physical return, I would also have to pay for shipping. And finally, we will have this article from Vice saying TikTok users are showing readers how to game Amazon's ebook return policy. Independent authors claim the viral trend is costing them royalties and non-refundable delivery fees. The TikTok trend, where users encourage others to purchase, read, and return Amazon ebooks within the company's return policy window, has irked independent authors who claim to have seen dramatic spikes in their ebook return rates since the trend went viral. The Read and Return Challenge drew attention to Amazon Kindle's return policy, which states that readers can cancel an accidental book order within 7 days. But that's when presented as a literary community life hack is hurting romance fantasy authors like Lisa Kessler's bottom line. Quote, when you buy a digital book, if you read and return it, Amazon just turns around and gets the money back from the author. Plus, Amazon builds in a digital delivery fee, and so Amazon is still getting that delivery fee, but we get all of the royalties taken back. Kessler, who's self-published several book series, says that before the challenge, she would see an average of 1 or 2 returns per month, but when she's checked her Kindle Direct Publishing sales dashboard on June 1st, she says that she was shocked to find a negative account balance. It's ridiculous. Kay Bromberg, another self-published author, told Motherboard, like you can literally see it on your dashboard. Someone goes through a series, then buy a book, they return it, they go to the next book in the series, they buy it and return it. You can't see names, but it's like when you see there are 3 returns in a row from like day to day to day, it's like, come on. And so it's even worse when there's obviously you can see a trend if you go online onto TikTok and there's a hashtag for it that is specifically for gaming the system. And I don't really know how you fix this sort of thing, because bottom line of it is a respect for the individual, a respect for the art, and a respect enough for these artists in your community to say, I will pay you for your labor even if I don't enjoy this thing. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I would like to get more income and get a steady income so that I can hire artists. And when I'm hiring artists, the art might not turn out exactly how I imagined it or exactly how I was hoping it would. even with commissioning and even with like giving corrections of sorts, sometimes there's really nothing that you can do to get that image exactly how you were trying to get it, because also sometimes it's just the style doesn't work, or it is really a collaborative effort in those cases. And so you just sort of accept what it is. You don't get your money back because that collaboration didn't work. That was still somebody's labor. And it's kind of crazy to me that there's such an increasingly high number of people that feel like they are owed the labor of others, whether it's books, whether it's voice acting, whether it's physical or visual arts of some kind. And there's such a lack of respect for the creative side or the designer side that other people are doing that individual is not doing. However, usually, now correct me if I'm wrong if you're one of these people, but usually even those that are stealing the stuff would want to be paid for their work that they were putting out there, whether it was physical labor or manual labor of some kind, or they were doing their own artistic things. There's so much free content on the internet to find. Even on Amazon, there is a whole free books section. There is the library for anything that you can't get on the free book section, or for most things that you can't get on the free book section, that I don't really understand the point of doing this, but to be spiteful and lazy at the same time. And that might sound harsh, but maybe this is a point where we actually need to be harsh with what's going on here, because this is casual theft, and this is theft encouraged by a whole community of online people that say it's fine to abuse artists, it's fine to take from artists, it's fine to take from individuals who are already suffering, as if they are Simon and Schuster, as if they are these big corporations. They're making individuals suffer while giving Amazon money. And I don't really understand where this mindset really comes from, beyond a selfish person that thinks they deserve everything and you deserve nothing, because they're narcissistic and selfish and think they're better than you and they owe you nothing, not even when you do work for them. So, honestly, when you start seeing really bad behavior, I think the only way, and this might just be terrible of me, but I think the only way is to be very blunt about what it is that you're seeing, because if you're very careful about, hey, I just don't think that that's nice. When somebody is being purposefully destructive to others, I don't know if that is even enough to break through the crust that is the self-protection, the defensive armor of a narcissist that thinks that you should just bow down and give them everything. I know that bluntness also doesn't work in a lot of cases, because some people just get defensive and then some people just think it's rude. But I think this is one of those situations in any case with any laborer that if you consume what somebody creates, regardless of what it is, you should be giving them something in return. And since I'm just, and I know I'm repeating myself, but it's just crazy to me that we can be at this point where so many people, especially young people, because who's using TikTok? I mean, really, who's the majority of the people on the read and return hashtag? It's crazy to me just how many people believe it is okay to steal from other people so casually and to brag about it. That's a disease in the culture, and that is a disease in people not caring about one another. That's the decay of the heart, and this lack of compassion, this lack of connectivity, and this everything is for me and mine and screw everyone else. And it's such a bigger issue than just stealing, because this is caused by how we think about each other and how we treat each other in relation to ourselves. So in general, I don't really know how to fix it, but I thought I would bring it to the attention of the writing community on YouTube, or just in general, in case y'all missed it, because I easily also could have missed it if I wasn't checking certain groups. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. Looking forward to your thoughts. Please purchase my books or order them at your libraries. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and don't die. Hello, boomers. My name is Yanananana. In case you didn't know, I'm a YouTuber from Nide, a small town in eastern Ukraine. My family has never really understood what I do in the woods, but all I've ever wanted is to make a better life for us all. Papa always comes home from the mines angry, dirty, and tired. It's a necessary evil to do your job and be in a place that you don't want to be. But I've never wanted to spend my life doing exactly what was necessary of me. Yanni, there's someone here to see you. Americans. Americans? Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Tom Cruise. This is my partner Bob Dylan, and we are big fans of your work. You're a couple of boomers. Actually, I'm a Gen Xer, but I digress. We'd like to sponsor you. Sponsor? What does that mean? We'd like to supply you with a couple of things to, help your channel explode. Who is it? Jan Bagan. Good. For a moment, I thought you were one of the catsup looking for trouble again. What do you mean? They say they're looking for a terrorist. They want to declare war. What point is there to declare war? Human beings are simple creatures. You understand what drives humanity? You understand all human motivation. There's someone out there doing something bigger than your internet videos, and they won't hesitate to use you as a scapegoat. The Russians are begging for a reason to declare us hostile so they can take everything we have. Don't give them that reason, Jan. I should just go home, like Boris said, but I checked the video I posted last night and it has over 500 views. I'm going viral. I don't have a choice. I must produce another video. The jar I'm holding slips out of my sweaty palms. I can't waste any more time and go back for it. I grab my tripod saying sorry, while I keep moving. The jar explodes. I'm deafened by something so loud and powerful it seems unreal. Jan, did you see that? Where the hell have you been? You mean the explosion? Yes. That was me. You needed to not do this today. You don't understand, Alex. I had to do it. I had to get the views. You're going to get yourself killed, Jan. No. They're looking for a terrorist. And how do you look different than a terrorist? I'm not trying to hurt people. Ignorance of war will not stop bullet from straying into your head.